Welcome to Conflict Management, resolving conflict between students. Introduction to conflict. A conflict can occur when the interests of two people seem to be mutually exclusive. Small conflicts will often evolve into larger problems when they are left unresolved. Ignoring the problem or lashing out in anger will only make the problem worse. Conflict, on its own, is neither good nor bad. It's the way we deal with the conflict that can positively or negatively affect the outcome.
What is it about conflict that makes it so difficult to deal with, and how come good people can turn into such monsters in the face of conflict? The most common way of dealing with conflict is to avoid it. Some people walk away, others get really upset, wind themselves up and attack, and others just get sick or go on stress leave. In fact, it's amazing what people will do in order to avoid conflict and the emotional stress that comes with it. There is a very clever saying that goes like this: denial is not a river in Egypt. Denial is, however, one of the most common problems when it comes to resolving conflict. When confronted with a tense or difficult conflict, too many people smooth it over, bury their head in the sand, and the conflict goes on for another 1, 2, or 3 weeks, months, or even years in some cases. I want to introduce you to a definition of conflict and then give you a pathway for the resolution of conflict. Before I do, I want to say this. For some people, even the word conflict means warfare, dead bodies and blood on the streets, and it's very common for women and men to see anything less than that as not being in conflict at all. So this is a definition that starts at a very low level, because most conflict starts out as very small upsets and builds and grows into a full-scale battle. So here's the definition. Conflict exists when one person has a need of another and that need is not being met. Now, don't be fooled by the simplicity of this definition. The resolution of conflict starts from here, and the first step is to express the need. The second step is to find out if the need can or cannot be met. If the need can be met, then we have resolution. If it's a no, then we negotiate to resolve the conflict, or we go into the management of conflict. So here's the problem. Most people go straight from having an unmet need into the management of conflict, bypassing step 1 and step 2 because they are afraid and don't talk to the people who can do something about it. And that's not pretty. In fact, it gets quite ugly. So here's what the management of conflict looks like: sulking, withdrawing, getting sick, the silent treatment, backstabbing, gossiping, shouting, blocking, being aggressive, and getting angry. So the resolution of conflict starts with expressing your unmet need and then finding out if your unmet need can or cannot be met. If your conflict has escalated to the stage where it's too tough or sensitive or difficult to handle, then you really need to think seriously about involving a neutral third party to help you.
Student conflict. Students often lack the skills necessary to resolve conflicts. Common conflicts for students include disagreements, miscommunication, or having different goals. Unresolved conflicts will damage relationships between the students, disrupt the educational process, and prevent student learning. In general, students who manage conflict poorly have not developed strong relationship skills, have poor communication skills, find it difficult to see someone else's perspective, tend to see conflict in black and white terms only, for example, I'm right and you're wrong, and see only one way to deal with conflict. Student conflict management. Conflicts can provide school staff with a means to teach problem-solving skills that our students can use now and in the future. By helping students resolve conflicts, school staff help students build interpersonal skills, strengthen relationships with fellow students, increase self-confidence and self-awareness, and solve the underlying conflict. Managing student-to-student conflict. Applying the models. Conflict management. Conflict management is the use of knowledge to help people solve common problems. There are 4 basic strategies for managing conflict. Negotiation. Both parties work together on their own to find a resolution that is mutually beneficial. Mediation. An impartial third party helps the parties to work together to resolve the issue. Arbitration. The disputing parties agree to allow an arbitrator to decide what should be done. Adjudication. The third party makes a decision on how to solve the problem, usually based on existing policy or law. Negotiation. Negotiation requires willing participants who are able to communicate with each other and at least some maturity to see the problem from the other person's point of view. The limitations of negotiation with younger students include a lack of maturity to negotiate a solution that benefits both parties. Mediation. The benefits of mediation include isolating issues between the disputants, development of options that are acceptable to both parties, reaching consensual decisions, and the ability to adjust the resolution plan when necessary. Mediation is a best practice for teaching students to manage conflict on their own. Limitations of mediation include the requirement of having a trusted third party who has the availability to spend time resolving the issue between the students. Supervision aides do not have a great deal of time to devote to mediating disputes since it takes the focus away from the rest of the students who are playing. Follow the 2-minute rule to determine if you are able to mediate a dispute. If you cannot resolve the issue in 2 minutes or less, pass the problem to the campus supervisor or administrator. In addition, mediation may settle only surface problems and not resolve any ongoing issues. Using mediation too often with students may result in students not developing the skills to resolve their own conflicts. In other words, students may become dependent on someone else to solve their problems for them. Mediation, continued. The desire for the participants to solve the conflict and reach an agreement is essential for mediation to work. School staff are in the best position to use mediation to help students learn to manage their conflicts. Mediation should not be used when a student is being bullied, threatened, sexually harassed, discriminated against, or violating school rules. In order to be a good mediator, you should stay neutral and not take sides, work with the disputants to find a solution, check with the parties to see if the resolution is working, and adjust the plan when necessary. Teach students to use the I feel formula. For example, I feel sad when you won't play with me because it hurts my feelings. Students fill in the information in the above statement in order to prevent the blame game. Allow both students to use the I feel formula in order to identify the issue. Arbitration. Arbitration is effective when time is short, the participants could not resolve the issue with negotiation or mediation. The participants agree on how the decision is to be made. The participants have confidence that the third party's decision will be reasonable and fair, and requires joint commitment from the disputants to follow the resolution. The limitations of arbitration are that the underlying conflict may not be resolved since the adult is making the decision for them. Students may also rely on arbitration for all conflicts. Adjudication. Adjudication should be used as a last resort strategy for managing conflict. Use adjudication when conflict has led to school rules being broken, such as physical aggression or fighting as a result of the conflict. Jud in adjudicate means judge. You will be acting as a judge and impose the established consequences for breaking the rules when you adjudicate a conflict. The underlying conflict is not usually resolved with adjudication as the adult is dictating the resolution. Further intervention may be required. More serious issues, such as bullying, threats, sexual harassment, and discrimination, should be handled by an administrator.
what he did and how it made you feel.
You keep calling me DJ Andrew, and it makes me feel angry because I don't like it when you say that. And when
Stop. Listen to what he said. Evaluate what he said. Okay.
I agree with you.
So then, what should your action be?
You
Stop. What should you do? If he said that, it makes me angry when you do that. And you agree with him that it would probably make him angry, right? So what do you think you should do?
fix it.
How do you fix it? And tell him how. Don't tell me, tell him.
Without saying do that and just say stop. But I was saying stop the whole time and you wouldn't
Relax,
listen.
relax, relax,
And it made me
relax.
feel-
Just tell it to him in a normal voice.
I'm telling you stuff, but you keep saying it, and like on the stage, you call me DJ Andrew, and you keep bothering me, and I'm telling you stuff, and you won't stop saying that.
So
And I
how
don't
can you
like
ask him